Hello, everyone. I'm Dr. Tiffany O'Mara. My pronouns are she and her, and I'm the Director of Outreach Services at Counseling and Psychological Services, otherwise known as CAPS. I manage our preventative skill based workshops and our community based programs, run our Building Social Confidence and Taming Anxiety Therapy groups, and provide outreach on topics such as stress management, building resilience, and increasing well being. And here with me today is Dr. Araceli Lopez Arenas.
Hi, everyone. My name is Dr. Araceli Lopez Arenas, and I'm a psychologist with CAPS. And my pronouns are she, her, ella, and I'm also the liaison to the Raza Resource Centro. And today we're going to be talking about finding calm in the chaos, how to not only cope, but also how to flourish during uncertain times. And at the end of the presentation, we are going to be asking you about a behavior that you would like to change. So as you're listening today, we want to encourage you to think about what one small behavior change you might be interested in making that could help you increase your stress management and build your resilience to help you get through uncertain times.
All right, so today we're going to start by talking about our current social context, the variety of stressors that are having an impact on us, and how that is important in understanding how we might be feeling. We'll then provide you with some strategies for how to take care of yourself in the context of all that's going on right now. We'll then discuss empirically supported strategies for stress management. And these are strategies that you will be able to use anywhere at school and at home. These are trusted tools to help reduce stress and increase your sense of well being. And we're actually going to get a chance to practice some of those strategies together in the workshop. So we're hoping that today will be informative and also a fun time together. And finally, we're going to end with a brief overview of CAPS services and how we might be able to assist you at your journey at UCSD. So we're really looking forward to this workshop today.
So welcome to this space. Well, thank you for taking the time to watch this video. I know that these are maybe some challenging times, so it's important to pause and take a moment it's important to validate how hard you've been working and how you're not only focused on what's happening in the political environment, but also what's happening in your life and in your academic life this quarter. So before we get fully into the presentation, we mentioned we'd have some activities for you. So we're going to start off with a really quick exercise, which is called coconut. And it's very simple. So if you could please take a moment to as you're watching to do this, and you can do this while standing or you can do this while sitting. And we're simply going to do a C for coconut, a C, and an O. And then we're going to do a C, an O, and N. You're going to bend down and touch your tippy toes, and then slowly come back in a U form. And then you're going to do my favorite, which is the T. And then just kind of let your body stretch any way that it would like to. So I know you've been working really hard, and so it's really nice to just get that stretch in. And it's important to recognize also the social context that we're living in the current moment. So there's so many different things that may be impacting us and contributing to our stress levels. It's not just school and academics that are impacting students' stress levels. There's also a lot of socio and geopolitical stressors that are contributing to distress levels. And in addition to that, it could also be family issues that you may be dealing with. So sometimes it could feel like it's relentless and something new and terrible is always happening every week. If we watch the news, everything is breaking news and unprecedented. And this may all contribute to heightened underlying anxiety for many of us. This may also be compelling for some of you to take action and get involved in protests and other forms of activism while trying to balance everything else that you have to do. This may also be impacting your family and social interactions. So we wanted to take a moment to acknowledge the real impact that this is having on us. A little bit of background, it's important to understand the context of what students may be facing in the 2024 presidential election. According to the American Psychiatric Association, in May of this year, adults are increasingly feeling anxious. In 2022, 32% of adults reported that they felt anxious. In 2023, it increased to 37%, and in this year, 43% identified feeling anxious. How many of you relate to that? You can raise your hand while you're watching this. And that's about a 34% increase in 2 years from 2022 to 2024. In 2024, 73% reported feeling anxious about the election, and stress and sleep were the biggest factors impacting their mental health. Often people are staying up just thinking about the news that they just watched. So it's important also to identify the individuals experiencing this type of stress and anxiety so that we can address their symptoms. This increase may be attributed to the exposure that we have to everything that happens around the world around us. Unfortunately, according to the American Psychiatric Association, only 1 in 4 adults have spoken with a mental health care professional, despite most adults reported feeling particularly anxious about current events. These are uncertain times, and it's important to find calm in the chaos, which is why we are here to provide you with some things you can do to manage stress and increase our well-being. So how do we address our current stressors, particularly election stress? According to an article by Jeremy Adams Smith and Jill Sethi, they provide recommendations for navigating the election stress. So some of the recommendations include limiting and taking breaks from media consumption. We often get bombarded, like I said, breaking news, unprecedented events, and it's important to monitor our intake of news. It's also important to determine our sources of news and whether these are factual or misleading, and notice how it is impacting us. So when you're watching something, what do you observe? Is the news triggering me, or is it motivating me to engage in productive ways? And sometimes we need to limit conversations that may escalate conflict. So this could be with a family or a friend, and it's okay to set boundaries with them. According to Dr. Brene Brown, boundaries are simply determining what's okay and what's not okay, and communicating that with the people that you're interacting with. You may also want to connect with support systems. We are social beings, and it is important to stay connected with the people that support us. Sometimes it may be necessary to limit this time or to set boundaries with people who are not supportive and increase time with those who do nourish us. You may also want to involve yourself in more civic involvement or civic engagement. Determine your level of civic involvement. When we feel that things and events are out of our control, it's important to take a bird's eye view and assess where can we have an impact. So for example, my presenting to you today is a way in which I can make a positive change. What might this look like for you? This can be as small or as big as you are able to get involved. And remember, whatever you decide, it's perfect.
In addition to these suggestions, another way that we can stay resilient in the face of the election and other stressors is by making sure that we're doing things that sustain our health and well-being. These suggestions today may seem like common sense, but research has found that common sense is not always common action. There are no secrets to stress management, but the hard part is making these things a regular part of your routine so that we can access them when we encounter a stressor or a challenge. All right, if you're feeling bad about the election, please try to avoid feeling bad about feeling bad. It's okay to feel those feelings. And instead of trying to push down those feelings, ask what you can do to soothe yourself. We've categorized self care strategies using a CARE acronym. And so we'll be giving you many ideas for areas you can work on to help manage stress. So please don't get overwhelmed with all of these areas and suggestions. We recommend picking 1 or 2 areas that you would like to try to keep up with regularly. The secret is not to do all of these areas perfectly, but to do 1 or 2 of them fairly well and regularly. In facing this year's election, don't let your stress cut you off from others. Making connections and building relationships are one of the most important factors of well being, and also one of the main ways that we can grow after going through something very difficult. Research on post traumatic growth shows that relationships can help us not only get through a difficult event, but help us to actually grow after going through that difficult time. It can help to even have just one person in our life who we feel is able to listen non judgmentally and be supportive of us. And close relationships help to reduce loneliness and provide support during stressful times. For example, even just asking for a hug can be helpful. We are soothed by touch, and it's a great stress reducer because our brain releases oxytocin, the hormone of safety, calm, and connection. So it's the brain's antidote to the stress hormone cortisol. And if there's not a friend close by to hug, then maybe call a friend or a family member. Just hearing their voice can be helpful. And having a sense of belonging and community are fairly universal needs and actually help us to become resilient during hardship and make it easier when we face new challenges.
And that's right. As human beings, social connectedness is vital to our well being. And so, where do you get your nourishment from? And these are some examples that we have available on campus. So, we have different campus community centers, we have college events. So, sign up for newsletters. Anybody else feel like myself that sometimes I'm missing out on an event? It's like, oh, sign up for the newsletter. That's how you get to find out. We have the CSI, Center for Student Involvement, student union events, peer educator programs, recreation, the zone. If you go to the caps.ucsd.edu and follow our calendar, you can see all the different events. We also have the BRC, Epimeta, Raza Resource Center, and all the different centers that you see there on the screen available to you. And they always have really great events.
All right. A is for appetite. Our brains regulate mood by having healthy levels of chemicals or neurotransmitters available. And we make these neurotransmitters from the building blocks that we get from our food. So, having a proper diet is one of the first steps we can take to help prevent an unbalanced mood. Healthy nutrition means eating healthy, well balanced meals that include proteins, fruits, and vegetables. Everything we eat and drink matters and also contributes to stress and mood management. And you may think that healthy food is more expensive, but on our campus, residential dining makes efforts to make prices of healthy options comparable to other foods. There are also resources online that help you find ways to eat healthy on a budget. Also, want to let you know about the Hub on campus because they have a number of resources to help students get access to nutritious food. And if you're uncertain about your meal planning, we also have registered dietitians on campus through both student health services and housing, dining, and hospitality who can provide you with personal consultations.
So, R is for relaxation, and relaxation skills can include many different types of activities, whatever it is that helps you to center yourself, to relax, to reflect upon your values. You can focus on your personal goal setting and refresh before engaging with the world again. And this can look very different for every person. So this can include things like time for inner focus and goal setting, journaling, mindful meditation, prayer, deep breathing, progressive muscle relaxation, organizing your schedule, and yoga. And TV, movies, video games are leisure activities, but they aren't necessarily things that are going to help rejuvenate you. And it may help to plan an activity, such as allowing yourself to simply sit for 5 minutes each morning and engage in deep breathing and anything that can help you relax.
All right, R is for rest. So, sleep needs vary with age and between people, but most young adults aged 18 to 25 years old function at their best with between 7 to 9 hours of sleep. And sleep impacts our learning, memory, and mood. And getting enough sleep helps us to function at our best. Not getting enough sleep can impair academic performance. And it can be difficult to get enough sleep when the quarter is so busy, and we may feel overwhelmed by everything going on in our environment. For example, the election. There can be real barriers to us being able to get enough quality sleep. So, to improve sleep at night, avoid napping during the day or make sure to limit your nap to 20 to 30 minutes. And as much as we can, sleep is important enough to prioritize.
All right, so next we have exercise or movement. And research has shown that regular exercise is associated with greater emotional resilience, which is a key ingredient to help us get through difficult times. Physical activity or exercise or movement looks different for everyone. So typically we think of going to the gym or going running, but if you're like me, you may not be the gym type person. So movement can include different types of activities, including dancing. The important thing is to find something that works for you. The science behind exercise working at improving our mood is in part because it releases the good brain chemicals, as Dr. Tiffany has been mentioning,
Mhm.
also known as neurotransmitters. And these are the endorphins, serotonin, and dopamine. And with improved mood, we can have a greater emotional bandwidth to better cope with stress and anxiety. Ever notice that you're just a little bit more irritable, or usually you have a tolerance up here, but now your tolerance is down here? So this is what can help with that. And remember, if you can do at least 30 minutes of movement daily, that's amazing. But if you can't, remember that some type of movement is better than nothing.
A big part of well-being is to increase a sense of engagement in our lives. And one way to do this is through hobbies. Hobbies are a part of our life that exist outside of school, work, and relationships. And having a hobby may seem simple or frivolous, but they're really a key part of self care because they give us time to slow down, get away from work and other life stressors, get us out of our head, and provide a space to find what's called flow, to engage in the present moment and absorb ourselves into something that we are passionate about. And hobbies might require some level of skill, but the really wonderful part is that you don't have to be good at them. You just have to enjoy doing them. So you can start out by trying something new and work to develop that skill over time. As students, we often put so much pressure on ourselves to excel in academic and work performance. But hobbies are one area where we can give ourselves a break and just allow ourselves to be in the present moment without judgment of our performance. And if you're thinking that you don't have time for a hobby, the great news is that finding something that we can get engaged in can really help us to be more emotionally balanced, give us an important sense of that work life balance, improve our mood, increase our sense of well being, and can help us be more refreshed and productive when we do return to work. And also helps give us that important life perspective. Hobbies and finding that sense of engagement is important to prioritize. Want to also let you know about the craft center on campus, which has a lot of opportunity to try out some different hobbies or crafts or skills.
Yeah, they have lots of great activities, including jewelry making, which is
Yeah.
one of my favorites too.
All right. In addition to the behavioral suggestions for self care, things you can do to reduce stress and increase self care, it can be helpful to be aware of our thoughts, how our thoughts might be contributing to our stress levels. So you can look to your mind for information. Is the election bringing back bad memories? Do thoughts of the election come into your mind when you wish that they wouldn't? Do you find yourself thinking about the election even when you'd prefer to think about other things? And it can be helpful to explore what changes we can make in our thinking that will have a very real impact on how we feel. Thoughts, feelings, and behaviors are all interrelated. So if you change your thoughts, you can impact the way you feel. So, want to go through some of these suggestions for you. The first is practicing self compassion. This means being kind, patient, and understanding and nurturing to ourselves. Self compassion is when we extend kindness to ourselves, even when we experience failure, low productivity, or feelings of inadequacy. We tend to be harder on ourselves than others when we go through difficult times. And it's really important that we exercise self compassion, as this helps to reduce our own suffering and make it easier to overcome hardships. Next is focusing on what you can control. Anxiety is a feeling of worry and nervousness about events and outcomes that feel uncertain. It can be emotionally stressful when things in our external environment feel out of our control. But it can be really draining if we continue to put our energy into those things that we can't control. So instead, try to shift your focus to what you have more control over. For example, your internal environment, things like your thoughts, your feelings, these healthy living habits that we're talking about. You may find that you feel better and you'll have a lower need for external control. Regarding the election, things you can focus on that are in your control are voting, joining voter registration drives to encourage others to vote, volunteering to campaign for your candidates, and attending peaceful protests, marches, and rallies to support causes that you care about. Next is engage versus disengage, knowing when to engage. So, when do you participate in activism? When do you participate in any leadership positions you hold or taking time to help others? And when is it okay to disengage or at least give yourself permission to disengage? That's really important to remember. It doesn't make you any less of an activist by not being on all of the time. So, saying to yourself, it's okay for me to take a break from this. It's okay for me to take some time for myself, is key to preventing burnout and enhancing self care. Having a value that my self care is important can help you to find that justification for why I'm taking time away from my studies or away from my activism to take care of myself. And that's okay. The next is taking things one day and one step at a time. So, when experiencing a crisis, it can be helpful to focus on the present moment and take things one day or even one small step at a time. Practice turning your attention on what is right in front of you in that given moment and try to have peace with that. For example, when taking a shower, enjoy the feeling of water on your back and simply allow yourself to be in that moment. Take some deep breaths and try to let go of other thoughts. So just practice being in one moment at a time. Next, it's during difficult times in which we often grow and find purpose. When we go through something difficult, just because we feel bad doesn't mean it is bad. In the moment, we can think a situation is awful, but it's often during difficult times that we learn more about ourselves, we use skills to cope, and we come out stronger. Looking back, we often have the perspective to realize that these times that were difficult were important to make us who we are. That being said, we want to acknowledge that there are very real stressors in life situations that cannot be, reframed. For example, a death in the family, the experience of racism, oppression, and there are things in life that are going to be difficult to cope with. And it's not that we should accept unfair or oppressive situations, but we want to normalize our reaction and use coping skills to manage our stress and then also utilize our strengths to help us flourish to get through those difficult times. Another resilient mindset is gratitude. To ask ourselves, what am I grateful for today? With so many stressors like the ones that Araceli mentioned at the start of this presentation, it may seem strange to suggest that we focus on what we're grateful for. But research suggests that gratitude is really powerful because it has the power to energize and bring hope. And when times are tough, focusing on what we're grateful for helps us to be more resilient. When we appreciate the good in our lives, it can decrease anxiety and depression, which can help us remain calm when facing uncertainty. And it can help us reduce burnout as well. When thinking about gratitude regarding the election, we can be grateful for living in a democracy where we get a vote, or you might be thankful for the activists who came before us and secured the right to vote for women and African Americans. In the present day, we can find gratitude for activists who are protesting and calling attention for social and environmental wrongs and demanding change. There's been a lot of research on the practice of gratitude, and here you can see a number of different health benefits related to practicing gratitude. There are two exercises in particular that research suggests are likely to increase the feeling of gratitude, which can increase our well being and help us to flourish. The first is a gratitude journal or a what went well exercise. So research has found that keeping a gratitude journal daily, so this is writing down 3 things that went well or that you're grateful for, helps us to increase a sense of well-being. Our brain has a negative bias, it will look out for the negative. So by doing this activity, it helps us to intentionally take in the good. The second exercise is a gratitude letter or a gratitude visit. In this exercise, you write a letter of gratitude to someone who you've not properly thanked, something that is specific and concrete, about 300 words. Be specific about what they did for you and how it affected your life. Let them know what you're doing now and mention how you often remember what they did for you. It should then be delivered in a personal way, not through text message, ideally in person. Surprise them about why you are visiting. After you have read the letter, discuss the content and your feelings for each other. When this exercise has been done, it's found large and significant increases in happiness scores and decreases in depression scores. And these results actually lasted 1 month after the letter was delivered. And this leads us to our next activity.
Great. So if you're interested in watching a YouTube video, you can see the link below, YouTube an experiment in gratitude. And as Tiffany was mentioning, remember that research has shown that the expression of gratitude contributes to overall happiness in life. And as my partner once told me, oh, you're struggling, that means it's time for gratitude. And as much as I was very annoyed by that, I was like, you're right. Absolutely. And I even downloaded an app that tells me at bedtime, we hear the little ding, and then it's like, oh, what are you grateful for? So really figuring out how to incorporate that into your life. An exercise that you could also do is if you follow these steps. So think of somebody who has been very influential in your life, someone who did something really amazing or important for you. And then take a few minutes to write down as much as you can about why this person is so important. So go ahead and pause the video in this moment. Take 3 to 5 minutes and just write as much as you can. And now you can unpause the video, keep going. And so after this presentation, reach out to that person and read and or send them what you wrote about them. How do you think this exercise will impact them? And how has this exercise impacted you? And how many people could you do this with? You'd be surprised how a small act like this can make a profound impact in somebody else's life and in yours. If you have about 10 minutes, Headspace is a really great app that you can download that has a lot of various different types of meditations. How many of you have heard about mindfulness? It's a very popular term nowadays. And according to Dr. John Kabat-Zinn, he defines mindfulness as having 3 components. 1 is paying attention, 2, on purpose, and most importantly, that we do this without judgment, because we tend to be judges of everything in a very dichotomous way. Things are either good or they're bad. They're pretty or ugly, productive, unproductive. So how many of you judge yourselves in these ways? Meditation is a form of mindfulness, and it's not about being in a space without any thoughts or feelings or your mind being blank. It's actually more about noticing and being aware of the thoughts, of the feelings and sensations that you're experiencing, and or the behaviors or actions that you're engaging in. What are you doing? What are you not doing? What are you noticing? And if you don't know how to meditate, fear not, as Headspace is a free app that you can use for guided meditations, and they can be as short as 1 minute to 10 minutes. So if you have about 10 minutes, then this is a good practice to implement in your daily schedule. So Headspace is an application that you can download on our website. You can go to caps.ucsd.edu/iflourish. And go follow the steps to download. And you have to go through the website to follow those precise steps to download the application. And we have a new feature where this year it's new that you're able to gift up to 5 memberships to friends and family members, even outside of UCSD. We also have a collection of online self-improvement programs that we call iFlourish, and all tools are free, anonymous, and only available to UC San Diego students. Each program provides a little something different, so you're welcome to sign up for both of them. And the following are meditations that are available to help cope with election anxiety. So I did a quick little search on election anxiety, and these are some of the things that came up over on the left side. And then I also put in some gratitude meditations, and you can see a sample of them on the middle column there.
All right. So right now, I want to take a little thermometer reading. Let's take our temperature. So observe how you're feeling right now, emotionally and physiologically. And on a scale of 1 to 10, with 1 being the lowest and 10 being the highest, where would you place your anxiety currently? And right now, we're going to actually practice a strategy called grounding that we're going to hopefully try to reduce that anxiety number for you. So grounding is a recentering technique that's used to pause, focus, get unstuck, and come back to the present moment. It's a sensory experience that you can use anywhere, anytime. And so we're going to practice one grounding technique together called the 5-4-3-2-1 technique. Okay, so I would like to request that as you're watching this, you do this with me. And so without saying it out loud, just observe 5 things that you can see in your room right now. And so go ahead and look around, and perhaps you can find something that you've never observed before. Let's go ahead and take a moment and identify 5 things that you can see. Right? Observe 4 things that you can feel, such as maybe even the chair on your back or your feet on the floor, or pick up something and feel it. So do that for 4 items.
And I'm doing this with you, Tiffany.
Thank you, Araceli. And now observe 3 things that you can hear right now. All right. And now observe 2 things that you can smell right now. And either one thing that you can taste. If you don't have anything that you can taste, maybe think of one good thing about yourself. And retake your temperature. How do you feel emotionally? What do you feel in your body? And what number would you give yourself now? So, I often have students tell me that during the activity that they were completely focused on the grounding activity and they weren't thinking about their worries during that time. Another student gave me a really great idea in which they created a self-soothe kit that they had, like in a little box that they kept. And inside that box, they had something pleasing for each of their 5 senses. And when they felt upset, they could pull out that little self-soothe kit and it would help to ground them to the present moment and help provide comfort to them. So that's another idea of something that you could create for yourself.
And sometimes we just have a minute. We just need a minute to gather ourselves. So think about, what is the difference between 1 minute on the treadmill versus 1 minute snoozing your alarm? Really, it's nothing. It's just a perception of time. On the treadmill, I'm like, 30 more seconds. Okay, 25 more seconds. But with snoozing, you're like, that wasn't even 30 seconds. Right? So my point is, we all have 1 minute to spare, or we can make time for 1 minute of resetting, whatever that may look like for you. So another calming skill that we can use is breathing. And how many of you have heard just breathe and you just roll your eyes, and it's okay. I know, because I used to roll my eyes when I would hear that. And why do you think we suggest that that you take deep breaths when you're feeling stressed, anxious, or distressed? And it's simple, it's biology, and it's about our autonomic nervous system. So the sympathetic nervous system is our fight or flight system that gets activated when we have a perceived or real threat. So for example, if you're out in the woods and you see or you think you see a bear, your body sympathizes with you and gets ready to protect you. So if you had to use the restroom or if you were hungry prior to seeing that bear, that gets suppressed so that your body can either run or fight. Although you might not want to fight a bear, and the freeze response might be more helpful. So consult with your local Smokey the Bear or park ranger on that. In college, this system can get activated by a midterm or a final exam or a paper. So what we want to do is we want to activate our parasympathetic nervous system, which is the parachute that helps calm everything down and lets you know that it's safe. When we feel or believe that we have no control, breathing is the simplest way that we can have to regain that control. You can pay attention or be mindful of the type of breathing you're experiencing, either from the chest that indicates stress and anxiety, or diaphragmatic breathing from the belly, which indicates relaxation. And with a few deep breaths, you can tell your body to relax and let it know that you are safe. And that can make a difference. Another technique is something that's called box breathing. So again, we're activating the parachute. This box breathing is a process where you'll breathe in and you'll breathe in for 4 seconds. You'll hold the breath. You'll breathe out for the 4 seconds. You'll hold the breath. And so as you can see in the image, we simply just want to follow. So let's take a moment to follow the box. And breathe in. You hold. And you breathe out. And you hold. And you can follow this for just 1 minute. And that can make all the difference.
All right, when we wake up in the morning, it's not just the default to flourish. It really involves intentional, purposeful actions. And people who are successful in managing stress and being resilient, you make a choice to approach life in this way, whether that's behaviors that we've discussed, like exercise, engaging in hobbies, getting social support, or mindsets that we practice, like looking at what we can control, reframing stress. This may be a lot of work at first. Maybe it doesn't feel quite natural at first, but it is something that with practice can become the default. And we want to encourage ourselves to think of what future would we like to see and what steps are we taking today to make that future happen. Thinking now about how we're going to take care of our well-being over the long run, what healthy habit are we nurturing now that will be with us after the election? These are strategies that can be useful at any time, not just during difficult times. And again, we suggest just selecting one or two of these and see if you can find a way to incorporate them regularly into your routine. That's really the trick of it, is how do you incorporate it regularly? These are tools that will be useful for you not only during your time here at UC San Diego, but also in life beyond the university. And we'll be asking you to complete a survey at the end here, and want to encourage you to list at least one behavior that you would either like to keep up regularly, something you're already doing that you want to keep up, or maybe something new that you learned about that you would like to start. And we don't exactly know yet the results of the election, at least not right now while we're recording this. Perhaps by the time that you watch this, you'll know. So we don't exactly know what's going to happen November 5th, but we do know that there will be a November 6th and a November 7th and a November 8th. And we know that we are all going to have to get out of bed and do what we can to make the world a better place, no matter who is in the White House. We might feel powerless, but we're not. We can vote, we can donate money, we can march, we can help the people whose lives that we touch. And we want to take some time to acknowledge the very real impact of mental health conditions such as depression and anxiety. So while it can be challenging for anyone to keep up these strategies regularly, experiencing symptoms of depression, anxiety, or any other mental health problem can make these things even harder. If you or a friend or a loved one are experiencing mental health symptoms, we want to encourage you to start with small goals. For example, maybe your goal is I'm going to brush my teeth at least twice a day. And once you gain that sense of accomplishment from that goal, you can then set a second small goal. And with depression and anxiety, engaging in any of these activities will often help us to improve our mood and reduce anxiety. And even a little bit at a time is still great progress. It's really important to practice that self compassion. Maybe your goal will look different than someone else's goal, and that's okay. We all set goals according to where we are now. So if you find yourself struggling with mental health symptoms, we encourage you to seek out CAPS resources that we're going to be talking about here in a moment.
So, how do I know if I need professional help? So, it's important to get professional help if you notice that anxiety is interfering with your life or any other mental health symptoms. So, for example, if you find yourself withdrawing in a conversation, feeling overly exhausted after socializing, worrying a lot after a brief hug or handshake, ruminating about what you said or how things went or how I said things, struggling to allow yourself to grieve losses experienced during the pandemic or this election cycle, or just continuing to avoid contact with other human beings, you might see a therapist at least for a little while. And I always say that sometimes it takes a lot of courage to pick up the phone or send a text or send a my chart message and say, I need professional help. It also takes a lot of courage to keep the appointment, and it also takes a lot of courage to continue to going to therapy and getting help. But know that we have a lot of really great evidence-based interventions, and we have a lot of great clinicians that can help. So CAPS, you can go to caps.ucsd.edu, and it's a department on campus that provides mental health support and counseling to students. And our team is made up of licensed clinical social workers, psychologists, psychiatrists, and postdoctoral residents. Our staff are culturally diverse with a wide range of identities. We offer both in-person as well as virtual telehealth appointments. Our clinical services include individual counseling, in which a student meets one-on-one with a counselor. We provide brief individual counseling with a limited number of sessions based on students' clinical needs. And many students find that 3 to 6 sessions are helpful and are able to make progress during this time. And if counseling beyond the brief model is recommended, we will discuss various options with the student, which may include referral to an off-campus service. And we'll look for a provider that is within your insurance network. Another service we offer is group counseling. Some problems are better addressed together in a group. And we have several groups in which students get the unique opportunity to meet weekly with a CAP staff, as well as get support from other students who share similar experiences. Example groups include on how to build social confidence, how to improve your relationships, and how to manage anxiety. Some students will also be referred for medication treatment with one of our psychiatrists. And our services are free for undergraduate, graduate, and professional students who have paid their student service fees. This means that you don't pay for any appointments at CAPS. And CAPS services are also confidential. This means that CAPS doesn't share information that you share with us, except for extreme situations that we will discuss with you. And we offer CAPS services in various languages in addition to English, including Hebrew, Mandarin, Spanish, and Taiwanese. And if you're experiencing an urgent need or crisis and need to consult with a mental health provider immediately, or if you're having urgent concerns about a friend, you can always call CAPS and request to speak to a counselor over the phone 24 hours a day, 7 days a week. This includes evenings, weekends, and holidays. And please don't hesitate to call us. Help is just a phone call away.
And in addition to counseling services, we also have a lot of really great preventative services. And this is our Tritons Rise Together workshops. And these are examples of some of the workshops that we provide, looking at NCHA data and addressing the top student concerns. We reviewed the top reasons why students came to CAPS, and we identified programming that would both help students from a preventative approach as well as provide supplemental advanced skill building to students already accessing CAPS or waiting for services. So these workshops are drop in, there's no wait, there's a workshop offered daily, and they're really these great advanced skill building workshops. All right, this slide shows pictures of one of our Triton's Flourish collaborations with Outback Adventures. It's called Rise with Outback. Students learn concepts and tools from the field of positive psychology while participating in fun activities such as rock climbing, going on a nature hike, and participating in the challenge course. So, again, check out our CAPS website where you can learn about all of our different Rise programs.
And we also have CAPS Community Connections. And this slide shows you our wide range of selections of community connections for this quarter. Community connection spaces are designed for students who share similar identities or similar experiences. They provide a safe space to discuss unique issues to the particular group in a supportive manner. Students can build relationships, learn from each other, and participate in meaningful, engaging conversations.
Also, want to let you know about Willow. Willow is a free mobile app designed to provide a one stop experience for searching and accessing mental health and wellness resources, services, and events at UCSD. Co-designed by and for students, the app personalizes the items on your homepage based on your interests and needs so that you receive only the information that you find useful and interesting to support your well-being. It also helps in finding organizations, communities, and even the location of the local farmers market. And all of these factors can contribute to overall well-being. So please take a moment to download the app today. All right. Also, want to just thank you for being here with us. If you've watched this program with us over this last hour, want to really thank you for your attention and for participating today. We would love for you to be able to give us some feedback about the presentation. So you can either go to that link or scan the QR code, and you would select presentation by CAP staff. Please go ahead and put down Dr. Araceli Lopez and select the topic of stress management. We would love to hear what you really enjoyed about the program, and we also love hearing suggestions for improvement. We really do read them and try to make improvements to our program. So please, if you would kindly take a few minutes to fill that out. All right, and that brings us to the end of our presentation today. And since we don't have anyone that we can ask questions, feel free to reach out to us at CAPS. We would love to see you. And finally, just want to thank you again.
Yes, thank you so much for your time and taking a moment to pause, and hopefully you find this video nourishing. And think about what's a takeaway that you have from this session today. And what is that one behavior that you're considering or willing to change, to add, you know, as you move towards your well-being. So thank you for your time, and we look forward to meeting you soon.